So this will be up on YouTube right after the class for hopefully. But I'm also going to start recording this so I have a backup. Great. So today is the last class for 2 weeks. We next meet on the 5th of April. So that's good. I think we all can use a break. I certainly can use a break. I've got a little bit of stress in the outside world with the writing jobs right now. So it's been a little bit hectic, to say the least. I've been getting up at 4 o'clock every day and writing until about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. Today I didn't go. I quit a little earlier than that. But and yesterday I took day off. But it's been, really very focused time. So we have 2 topics for today that we're going to be working on. 2 topics we're going to be working on. Okay, can I tell you, it's okay. It could be worse. I could be unemployed. We're going to be working on editing again, and there'll be an assignment, and we're going to be going over microphone basics. And what I would say is I sent out an email with a link for a sheet to fill out to pick up recording kits. Everybody, please have that done for our next class. So that we can start in with recording some live audio in our next class and working with that for the rest of the semester. It's a little bit tricky to teach. It's that everything that I've taught so far this semester that we've gone over, it's been actually better online, except for getting you guys set up. The actual teaching part has been better online because I have access to my system here. I can make really high quality YouTube review videos, which I can't do at the college. But recording live audio, that's much trickier and a little less successful and definitely not as good as in person. But that being said, you'll still learn quite a bit. So, so get that recording kit set up for our next class. Just get them, and I'll show you how to set them up, show you how to select the audio engine, and how to get everything rocking. What I'll do is I'll put a little laptop on a table here, and I'll change the camera angle and one of the camera angles, and I'll just go through a setup and show you how to do that. Now, one thing though is, give me 1 second. I have to get a prop. Yes, I am wearing shorts. It's spring. One thing I wanted to say is that if you've got USB cable, but your computer is a newer computer that has USB 3 or USB-C, you have not USB 3, USB-C. You have to get an adapter. I don't think that we have these. You should ask Justin if he has a USB to USB-C adapter. And then basically what you do is you just plug this into one side, and then this would go into the audio interface, and then this would go into the computer. It's a pain in the neck. I have a couple of these adapters for older gear on my new computer, which has USB-C, and my new laptop. But the laptop I'll be showing you this on is a 2011 MacBook Pro, just to show you that you can even have an older computer and you can still do this work. Okay, let me get that out of the way. So I'm going to open up a session here, and let's go to the screen. And I'm going to save that on my desktop. All right. Now, we're going to go over some audio editing here. And I showed you some examples last week, which are going to be the assignment for this week, for 2 weeks from today, and I'll go over that. And I will go over those again, but let's get some other material to work with. So I just picked out a bunch of random pieces I wrote for television pieces. And let's see. Let's just get all these. I'm going to convert them. So what I'm doing now is I'm importing audio, and I will go over that in a future class. And this was 16-bit, this audio, and I'm just converting it to 24-bit so that it works in our session format. Some broadcast places only want 16-bit audio. Some library companies, I don't know why that is. But all this music's been converted. Let's see, right there. Here we go. There we go. And we're going to have them at the beginning there. And then what I want to do is I'm going to move all these out so that I don't have to mute anything. Great. And let's do this. So I've got, it looks like 9 pieces of music in different styles here, and we're just going to effectuate some edits. So let's take a listen to the first one. So this is a piece I wrote for a show that was on Fox Sports about 10 or 12 years ago called Mansion Poker, and it's a reality TV show, right? So this sounds like the music you'd hear like on in the background on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire or something like that. Very minimal melody. It's just a mood. So the entire track is a little over a minute long, right? Because if we look here, I've got minutes and seconds. It ends a little bit after 1 minute. But we've also got a little bit of a pad at the beginning where there's no audio. So what I want this to do is I want to make this into a 30-second edit. All right? It's a 60-second edit, and we're going to make it into a 30. Now, why is this important? Well, let's say that you write a piece of music and a friend of yours wants to use it on their YouTube channel or on a podcast, and your music's 5 minutes long, and they say, I only need 30 seconds. Can you do that to me because I can't edit audio? Well, if you can't edit audio, you're out of luck, or you'll have to hire somebody else or ask a friend of yours to do it. It's always best to be self-sufficient with certain aspects of this practice, and editing audio is very helpful. So, remember last week, I spoke that the begin, like right here, this little bit right here, and right here, right here, and right there. Those are transients. They're where like a harder hit happens, something that's louder, sharper. Right, so that's a kick drum right there. There's a kick drum, and there's other instruments, but... right? And that's a bass slide right there. So I want to get this so that it starts at the beginning of my session so that I could look at my, and we're going to change the counter time base in a second. So if you look right here, whoops, in this here, this last box underneath your tools is called Tab to Transients. And this is our friend. And the way this works is that if I put the playback head before the beginning of this, let me open up the other camera so you can watch my computer keyboard. And switch views. Here we go. All right. So I've got the playback head a little bit before the start of the piece. I'm going to hit the tab key, which is right here, and then watch what happens to the playback head. You see that? It goes right to the beginning. And then if you zoom in, it's in a pretty good spot. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use Command and the letter E. And what that does is that separates out this clip at the point where the playback head is. You could see now there are two clips. So I'm going to highlight this first clip, right, just by double-clicking on it if you're in the selector tool, which you should, when you're editing, you should be in the selector tool, this guy here. And then I'm going to shift to the shuffle mode, which is what we're going to be in for the rest of our editing on this particular piece. So I'm going to click here, and if you've got this set up correctly, the function keys 1 through 4 will scroll you through. Let me zoom in on that so I can show you. The function keys at the top of your keyboard can scroll you through the different edit modes. F1 is shuffle, F2 slip, spot, F4 is, F3 is spot, F4 is grid, and you notice that there's a little downward triangle for grid. If I click on this F4 again, it will go to a purple color, which is relative grid, which I haven't talked about yet, and we're not using, I'm not sure if we will use it this semester. So you can either click on that or hit F1 if you've got it set up correctly. All right. So I've got this, whoops. I've got this area here, and I'm going to highlight that by double-clicking on it. And if I hit the delete key right here on my computer keyboard, this section over here is going to slide all the way back to the beginning. Boom. Now, this whole semester, we've been working in time, in bars and beats for our time base. For today's assignment, I don't know what the tempo of this piece is. I can figure that out, and maybe I'll show you that on one of the other pieces. But for right now, I want to change the time base. So there's a downward facing triangle to the left of the main counter. Selector, click on this and go to minutes and seconds. And we've got minutes, seconds, and milliseconds, 1,000th of a second. So I want my piece to be this long, right? Which is somewhere in the middle. So let's take a listen. Okay, so what I've done there is I've counted the whole phrase here is 8 bars long, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 2, 3, 4. Now, if you notice, one time completely through is almost 8 bars. So this hit here right? I'm going to use that. I'm going to do Command E, and I'm going to separate that out. And I'm going to go somewhere over in this area here, and I'm going to listen. I'm listening for the beginning of the next section. Okay, bop bop pick boom. It's right there, and I know it. It's right. You hear, like when I put the cursor right by this area here. That's a clean hit, and so I'm gonna do Command E, right? I've separated that out, and I'm going to click on this, and then I'm going to delete that, and then this area here is going to slide and butt right up against this area here. And you see that, how great that edit worked? You can't even tell that that's an edit. And the reason that that works is I picked a really hard transient that was easy for me to find, and it also covered up the hard tom-tom hit on the drums, covered up any sort of other sounds that might be hanging over. So now, if we look at the end of this piece, it hits at almost 31 seconds. So we want to end somewhere around 20, we want it to hit at about 27 seconds or 28 seconds so that we've got some of this ring out that we can then fade out. So let me see where I want it to. Right, so that's the hit there. So all I'm doing is placing the, and if I did the tab trick, there we go. So you see what it did? If I hit tab, I'm right here. It's going to go to this next transient. If I hit it again, it's going to go somewhere over here. And then if I hit it again, that's our hit. So I'm going to do Command E. And I need to find a way to end this a little bit sooner. Boom, boom. What if I did after that bass slide? Right onto that. So Command E, highlight that, delete it, and let's take a listen. A little rough, right? I like that as, I like that slide. Whoops. I like that slide as an edit point, but what if I had that drum hit? That might help. So I go tab, separate that out, right? So that's, let's see what part of the beat that is. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So that starts on beat 3, 3, 4, 1. So let me show you that again. I'm going to count beats, and I'm going to see where that drum beat comes in. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So let's go back and find that bass slide. One, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. So it's going to be a little before the bass slide. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. I think that's 3 right there. Let me play it back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Yep. So let's delete that and see if this is any better. Better. There's still like that little flute sound that's hanging over. So maybe what we can do is a little crossfade. So let's select this. And now, if you have A and Z activated up in the upper right-hand corner, which you all should, and some of you still don't, that should be on at all times for my class. If you hit the letter F, as in Frank, you will get a crossfade. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to use the regular trim tool, and I'm going to go to slip mode, and I'm going to just drag this fade a little bit to the right, to the left, so that it starts right at this hit here. Better. see if I go a little further. A little further even. Whoops. So notice I'm going to like all the transients. So any of those could work, even just the shorter one. And then 30 seconds is right here. That's 30 seconds. So I want it to end at 30 seconds. So I'm going to do Command E, separate that out. I'm going to highlight that and delete it. Now this is going to cut off. Not good. So we need to make a fade out. And to do that, you just click a little bit past the edit and drag to the left. Right? And then just hit your F like Frank key. And there's your 30-second edit. Boom. I need a landline. Please, I need help. Yeah, that end, I could do that. That could be a little bit better, the end of that. I think maybe that longer fade in is better. This is a little abrupt, so I'm going to drag this back. Yeah, that's better. All right, so that's the first one done. Let's take a listen to the second one. Yeah, this is another piece I wrote. I forget exactly what I wrote this for, but it was for something for broadcast. So what I want to do is, notice here I've got the grid set up for 1 second. So I want to make sure that I want to do an edit for this. And right here is 1 minute, right? So I'm going to drag this so that it starts at 1 minute. And let's see how long this whole piece is. So this is about 3 minutes long, right? It's funky. But what's great about this track for editing is it's a transient rich environment. All right, so, okay, so this is really long, right? It's like 3 minutes, almost 4 minutes long. Let's see how it ends. Wow. I have no you know, it's funny. I went and found these tracks and just listened to the beginning of them before class because I thought this would be helpful. And I have no memory of writing this. I know I wrote it, but like this part here, I don't remember doing this. Car customization or something. It's definitely commercial. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's make a 60 out of this one. 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2. I'm going to slip mode. 5, 2, 3, 4, 6, 2, 3, 4, 7, 2, 3, 4, 8, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so right here, right? So 8 bars. So I'm going to get here. I'll hit my tab key. Gets me right to the transient. I'm going to do Command E. And then there was that nice little breakdown section here. So let's see where I can get in. 2, 3, 4. Wow, that's weird. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 1. Right, so this is 1 right here. So go a little bit before, hit my tab key, gets me right to that transient. Whoops. Would help if I hit the right key command to select that. Highlight all that, double check. So I'm getting rid of that section. And you know, what you can do, which is really cool, is you can see how long you're getting rid of right here. So I'm getting rid of almost 20 seconds, 19.2 seconds of time. Go to my shuffle mode, hit delete. Let's listen to our edit. Ah, perfect, right? Okay, so I may make this little section here half as long as that, right? I'm keeping that in the back of my mind. I can make this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2. So that's 4 measures. I might make that 2, if I need to, I might make that 2 bars. I'm just keeping that in my head. Let me count my measures here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. Right, so I'm only going to do 4 bars of that. Right, so it's somewhere there. Let me go a little before and do my counting. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right there. Right, and do my tab to transient. Separate, oops, wrong key combination, damn. And let's see, going forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2. Here's another little section. I might have to, that other thing, I'm going to cut it in half. I could tell already. So this is my transient here. So I just get a little before, hit tab, separate, Command E, highlight this middle section. And I'm going to delete that. I'm in shuffle mode and boom, it snaps over. Double check my edit. Okay, so here is a downbeat right there. So I'm a little before it. I'll do tab, goes right to the transient, Command E. I'm going to get rid of all this because I'm looking, I've got like 16 seconds left, right? So I need to get somewhere further down the timeline. So here's a breakdown. What happens after this breakdown? So this is good. Hit the tab key, right? So this is a new section. Command E, zoom back out using the R key. I'm going to get rid of this whole, it's 1 minute and 7 seconds and change. All right, so I want this piece to end at 2 minutes. I've still got a huge bit here. 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. Okay, here's a downbeat here. Right there. So I'll go a little before, hit my tab key, Command E, and then I want to get really far into this. One, 2, 3, 4. So there's a downbeat here somewhere. Hit my tab right there. Hit my tab key, took me there. So I'm going to get rid of this whole huge, another almost minute, 57.5 seconds. All right, so this is getting us close, right? Let's hear our edit. Good. Now we're a little bit over, right? We're like a few seconds over. So remember I told you I had this saved in my back pocket that I could cut this middle section in half because 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. Now when you're going to cut something in half, let's say something is 4 bars long. The best thing to do if something is 4 bars long, 99% of the time is to cut out measures 2 and 3 and have measures 1 and 4. If something is 8 bars long and you want to make it 4 bars long, you cut out measures 3, 4, 5, and 6. So you have 1 and 2, 7 and 8, and that's your 4 bars. So always cut in the middle. I find that's just experience talking. There's no hard and fast rules. Sometimes cutting other measures works really well, but always start by cutting some of those middle measures out and make it an even amount of measures for these edits. So this is a 4-bar phrase, so I want to cut out measures. This is an 8-bar phrase, I think. 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. No, it's 4 bars. So I want to cut out, if it's 4 bars long, I want to cut out measures. See, I caught myself and switched before I started getting too into it. One of these days, I'll get that correct. Okay, so I want to cut out measures 2 and 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 2. So there's my downbeat. Zoom in. Tab. Hit the E. 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 1. That's my downbeat. Tab. Command E. Delete this. It snaps up. Double check my edits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2. Perfect. Great. So for a 2-minute piece, you want the button to be at about like 157, 158, and then you have a 2-second ring out. That's for television. And here we've got a little room to play because we're ending at like, between 157 and 158, and then we've got like a little bit more ring out than we need, so we can just do what we did before. We can delete this. And do a nice fade out. Command F. And then if I do all of these, select holding down the Shift key, and look right here. Whoops, sorry. I've got 1 minute and 4/10 of a second. So that's perfectly acceptable for television broadcast. And we've got a nice little edit there. Yeah, that's okay. I mean, you could do something like this, do a little fade here. Yeah, that's actually pretty cool. Yeah, so the echo leans over a little bit. All right, so that's pretty cool, right? You guys with me?
Yeah, no, it's really cool. I'm watching.
Anybody out there? Anybody out there? Hello.
Yes, we are.
Hi. How's it going?
Yes. Hello.
Professor, I have a quick question.
Yes,
so
sir.
You can do these same type of edits to a MIDI work as well?
Yes, you can. That's more more involved because you have to actually. Let me think about if I. Let me think while I'm working on this. Let me think if I can find a piece where I can show you that. All right.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Let me ponder that while I finish this little bit here. Okay. So now we've got Louis' Groove. I actually should do something. I like this piece. I should do something where I expand this out and get a real rhythm section to play instead of my program.
Also, can I ask you a quick question? I'm sorry for
yes. No. Tito, ask.
I have a very good friend who's an editor for television, and he inserts music into all the editing that he does, and he says that he takes music from these huge libraries, right? So I'm imagining that you do something different than the people who just upload the music to the libraries because you're also editing your music for a certain show. Like he does,
right. So
he works on network television, but he just picks things and inserts them himself.
Right. So here's the deal. Right. So that's how I got started in film and television music, was writing what's called production music. And I got started in that in 1998. I was still playing piano full time at the Broadway show Miss Saigon. And, I had been teaching myself how to do all this music composing with MIDI. And I got a job writing music for highlight music for Fox Sports. I wrote like 40 or 50 2-minute pieces. And then I got another job writing 125 library pieces for the 2000 Olympics on NBC. And then I got hired by this company called Killer Tracks to write for their library. And what they did was they put out, and I'm not sure if I told you guys this, or maybe I told my other class, but they put out things called topical CDs back then. So they would have a CD called Retail, and they would have a CD called Drama Underscores, or they would have a CD called Comedy, or they'd have a CD called Sports Highlight Music. And basically they'd put like 12 pieces of music onto the CD, and maybe I would get hired to write 3 or 4 of the tracks, and then they'd hire a few other composers to fill it out. Although there were a few CDs I did for them where I wrote everything on the CD. I did an acid jazz CD, and I did a couple of solo piano CDs, like new age music piano CDs for them, where I did every track, I think, or maybe 10 out of the 12 or something like that. So basically, I'd write about a 2-minute piece of music, and then I would be responsible for a 60-second edit, a 30-second edit, a 15-second edit, and a 5-second edit. And then I'd also have to make a narration version, which meant that like the melody would be muted. And then I would have to do the same edits. And then they got put onto CDs, and they would ship out. It was a huge company, Killer Tracks, and they would have people that would work in the people's full-time job would be to get this stuff placed on television shows, advertisements, wherever they could. And they would get clients, and they would ship them CDs, like cases of like 100 CDs. And then somebody would take all these CDs, they put them into a digicart, and they'd have access to the entire library on like a digicart. And then they would either take the full piece and edit it out, or they would use some of the cut downs that I did. So now, basically, and the way that worked back then was that I got paid money up front for every piece of music I wrote, and I would use that to create the piece. If I had to hire a live player, it would come out of that. I was renting a space on 49th Street and 8th Avenue. I had a room smaller than my bedroom here, inside of a larger studio. And so I could record live, like soloists in my room. So I had a piece where I needed, for example, a couple of live trumpets. So I got a friend of mine to come over, and I recorded him playing trumpet twice. So there were 2 trumpets on this piece. So I would pay him out of the budget for the tracks. And anything left over would go into my pocket, which is why I learned how to do editing and mixing and all that stuff, because If I had to hire somebody to edit and somebody to mix, I would have made no money up front. And then my rent wouldn't get paid and I wouldn't be able to eat. Although I was playing piano at night on Broadway. But anyway, what ended up happening, and then I get writer's share of the BMI money on the back end, which took about 3 years of writing to start seeing some money. And then that became, at one point in my life, that became my main source of income. Kind of been doing it for like 10 or 15 years. And I had established an insane number of tracks that were being on television like 300 or 400 times a day. So what has happened since then, back then there were about 10 to 15 library companies. There was FirstCom, there was Killer Tracks, there was Network, there was Omni out in Port Washington, there was DeWolf in England. There were a bunch of library companies that had the same business model. And then large entities started seeing that this was a cash cow for the people that had, like whoever owned Killer Tracks got the publishing for like they had 5 or 10,000 pieces of music, right? So that's like, that's hundreds of thousands. Well, it's like probably millions of dollars a year in BMI money. So large entities started buying up catalogs, these companies, and merging them together. Sony, then BMG, and now Universal. So all these pieces I wrote between 1999 and 2008 for Killer Tracks, I get needle drop fees, which is like if they license out a piece for like $75, I get a percentage of that up front, which is different than handing a cue sheet and getting performance royalties from BMI. And I can explain all that if you guys want. I don't typically teach that in this class. I teach that in my film scoring class, what that is. And so I get these checks twice a year from Universal Publishing for stuff I did for Killer Tracks. Some of them over 20 years ago. They're still, on television. So, in addition to BMI money. So your friend is now what's happened is that there's hundreds of companies. They pay nothing for music up front. They want composers to just get them music, and whatever's on the back end is what you get. And that is such a crapshoot now because there's so much music out there, and these companies have it's just the internet has made it so difficult for that business model to work right now. So I stopped doing that about 10 years ago. I haven't written a production piece since maybe 13 years ago, like 2008 or 2009, something like that. So that's what your friend gets. He gets stuff from, and I have friends that work at these companies like Scorekeepers and Free Play Music, and there's Epitome Music. There's a bunch of them, and they just upload tracks to these companies. But what ends up happening when you with these freebie companies is that it's not a work for hire. So when I was writing for Fox and NBC and Killer Tracks, that was a work for hire. I gave up ownership of that music, right? I still receive what's called the writer's share of the Public Performing Rights Organization money, but I would not have the copyright to that music. Anything that I've licensed, and I have licensed out music to some of these other companies, and I do that as a non-exclusive license. They retitle the music, and I still own the copyright to the music, but they collect the publishing and I collect the songwriters, and it pays very little because I haven't really built up like, 2 or 3, a couple of thousand tracks, like write a track a day. Like these tracks I've played you so far, I could pop out one of them in a day. That's not that big a deal. And so if you do that for 5 years, you've got like a couple thousand tracks that are circulating in the airwaves, and you can probably make a decent living, right? Well, I did that from 1998 until about 2008. I was just pumping out 3 or 4 or 5, sometimes 5 tracks a week, depending on whether I had any films or any other kinds of projects going on. And that ended up, working well. So anyway, I hope that answers your question. I'm going to turn my air conditioning on in here. It's getting a little stuffy. Give me 1 second. It's March, and I'm turning the air conditioning on. All right, great. One thing I'm looking forward to after COVID is over, after we get our second shots in a couple of weeks, and maybe in a month from now we have some kind of immunity, is getting a real haircut, because I'm getting tired of cutting my own hair. It's really bad.
A professional barber, by the way, for 20 years, just so you know.
There you go. All right, let's take a listen to. All right, let me show you something else. All right. Let's go back to bars and beats. Let's go back to grid, and let's go to 1 bar. All right, so let's get this up so that's close to 3 minutes. So 91 is close to 3 minutes. Measure 91.
Please share your screen.
Oh, thank you. I can't get through one class without doing that. All right, here we go. So we've got Louis' groove. Okay, so this is about 1 minute 40 seconds long. Now, what if I want to know what the tempo of this piece is? This is done to a click track, so it's it's right. It should be good. So if I select and this starts right on. There's no pre-roll with this one. It starts right on the introduction. Actually, looks like it's at 120 beats a minute. It's funny. So if I select these first 2 measures, right? And I do command and the letter I. Let's get the scene up. Command and the letter I. It brings up add bar beat markers, right? So location, it starts at 91. And actually, hold on. Let me fix this so that it's a little bit. This is not going to work. Give me 1 second. I mean, it's going to work, but it's not going to teach you anything. All right. And let's get this right on the downbeat. Okay, so 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3. So let's say I want to pick a certain amount of time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 1. Now, hold on a second. Sorry, I'm a little fried. 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, 4, 2, 1. So this right here is my downbeat. So let's go to slip mode, which is F2. Right? So let me count that off again. 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, 4, 2, 1. So this right here is my downbeat. Let me do my tab. Whoops, right here. All right, so I'm going to separate that out with Command E. And this is 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, 4, 2. That's 4 bars, right? So I'm going to do Command I. So 4 bars. Or you could even count it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. Right? So that could be 2 bars. So let's say it's 2 bars. So Command I. So we're starting at 90, and we want this section that we've highlighted to end at the beginning of 92. So it's 90, 92, 3, 4, 91, 2, 3, 4, 92. Beat 1 of 92, right? So 92, beat 1, and hit enter. And that gives us a tempo, right? It tells us the tempo is 75. So now we know that this is our tempo, 75.0668 beats a minute, which is kind of out there. But I can get rid of this, right? So that figured out the tempo for me. And I can add that tempo in here. I think I might have miscalculated that. Did I make a boo-boo? I made a boo-boo, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. One more time. Yeah, I stopped. Okay, let's do this one more time, all right? Please apologize. All right, so this is where we want the downbeat to be. I cut the downbeat off too early. All right, so this is what we want to be 2 bars. And 92. There we go. So 74.4943. That's what that number is there. That's our tempo. That's a little odd, but that's what the tempo is. So at 90, we're going to do 70. We're going to add the tempo change right there. And then that becomes the tempo now. And now we can go to grid mode and we can edit using the grid. Whoops. Oh, you know what? Something weird happened. Jeez. I can't believe this. This is so ridiculous. All right. There got to be an extra bit of audio in there somehow. So my original one was correct. So let's go back. Right. Let's delete this. So 70, that's our tempo. So notice how I just deleted all that? I can drag all that back out again. It doesn't get deleted. It's just telling the computer which part of this to play. So our tempo is 75, right? And we can just click on this and we can delete this. 75.0668. We can delete this and we can put a tempo in there, or we can delete both of those. And we can put a tempo in right there. We can put a tempo in right there. Okay. There we go. Let's get this right on the downbeat. All right, so now you can see that this is all lining up on the grid, close to it and close enough to do edits with. So let's make this into a 60. Okay, so that we're going to make that half as long, the intro, right? 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's a 4-bar intro, so that we're going to get rid of 2 and 3, right? So I just, the second and third bar of that, hit the shuffle, shuffled off to Buffalo, and now that should sound good. Using the grid. Just needs a little bit of crossfade, and that'll be fine. just listening right now to the Foreman song. So there's a downbeat there. I need another 15 seconds, right? Because I started at 2:58. That's what the number says up here. 2 minutes and 58 seconds. So I need to go to 3 minutes and 58 seconds. So what if I just went right to here? This is the last verse, and I deleted all this. That gets us really close. All right, so we need a little crossfade there. All right, so we have to adjust this because it's not perfect. And let me show you what we have to do. You see right here, we don't have the transient didn't hit correctly. So I'm just going to put my guy there, hit the tab key. And then I've got on shuffle mode so I can delete that. And I might have to do a little crossfade like this. Let's take a listen. So there's too many. The ending, I repeat this several times. So let's go back here. Right? We can lose one of those end riffs. So from right here, zoom in, right? That's a downbeat. Tab, E, right? Right here, tab, hit, go back to shuffle mode, delete. Nope. Do it, so let's see. Got rid of this, and then just went to this very last chord. Let's see what that sounds like. Not bad. I might have to work on that a little bit more to get that down to 60, but you get the general idea. Now, a couple of things happened at the beginning of that kind of messed me up a little bit. When I did the first one and I got this tempo of 75 point whatever it was, when I put that in, a little right here, an extra bit of audio somehow got inserted there that made it look like the downbeat wasn't right. And I'm not sure how that happened. But again, this is why, you have to really pay attention to what you're doing. And somehow I must have done something that sort of, I'm operator error. That's how that happened. So I must have done something that actually added that little bit in there, and I'm not aware of what it was. But it took me a minute, but I was able to figure it out. Okay. So let's see. Do I want to do one more of these? What I would say is I'm going to go over I'm going to go over what I'm assigning in class today, right now. And we went over it a little bit last week. I can upload this session if any of you want to take a shot at editing some of these. Just let me know. and I can put a link. I can upload this and put it in with the assignments. And if you can edit some of these, it's like a really great practice. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. That time I. All right, so this is our assignment. This is the session for our assignment. So what you're going to have to do is, the first thing is make it named properly. Right, so I would just underscore put my initials. I left the initials off on purpose. And then make this the session file be the same. And if I go to our Dropbox, our Google Class, in the stream is this edit assignment, and also in the assignment, it's there as well. So you can download that from either one of those places. And again, let me know if you want me to upload the more difficult pieces to edit. And let me say this right up front, right now. If you send me the .ptx file, now that we've got audio files that are part of the Pro Tools session, I won't be able, I can open it, but if you were to send it to a client, let's say, and those files weren't in there, they wouldn't be able to run it on their computer because the assets are not, Pro Tools is looking for the files that are in this folder. So you really have to compress the session folder. And some of you are still making, I have people that have been in class with me for a year and they still make the mistake. Right? It's a common mistake. Try to avoid it. If you've got any questions, send me an email and I will show you how to do it again. Okay, so let's open this up. So these are easy compared to what we just did, right? There's a piano piece. Very simple stuff. Right, we went over these last week. So there's 7 pieces, all right? So let's edit the piano piece. Now, these, I'm not talking about any time-based thing. You just have to do a nice edit, and it has to make musical sense. And these are all to the grid, although maybe they're not completely to the grid. So let's just see. All right, so we play our piano piece. All right, so that's a very simple, it's just a scale up in tenths and then a scale down in tenths. So let's see what kind of form we can get. We can go do da do da 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 da. That could be a 1. Dum, bum, and then right, so we go do. Right, so that could be our piece. So you can try these in grid, right, just by selecting that, going to shuffle, and hitting the delete key, but you have to double check. Up. Not good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back, and now that I'm in shuffle mode, see, this note I played a little early. So I'm just going to grab this, like that, and then let me zoom into the whoops. Let me zoom into the end and make sure that I'm not clipping. See, I'm clipping the beginning of this note here. So let me get to there. There we go. That's all in the clear now. That should sound much better. Okay, there was still a tiny click, which you probably didn't hear on Zoom, but I definitely heard it. So I'm going to go here and just do a little crossfade, just like that. Right? Just select that, and if you've got the A and Z, the key focus enabled, you can just hit the letter F, and it will do a nice fade for you. There you go. Perfect for our assignment. Let's move away from that. We went over the orchestra last week. Now, another thing you can do, which is perfectly acceptable, and I would actually with the drum loop, I would want you to do this, is you can create a new drum loop, right? So let's listen to this. So let me change my grid to 16th notes and zoom in a little bit. All right, so you notice how with this kind of a groove, let's make this really big so you guys can see it a little easier on your laptops. Notice how on this kind of a groove, there are all kinds of this space, right? And if I play that, there's nothing there. Right? There's nothing there. Each one of these things, those audio events, is a different instrument in the drum kit or a combination of instruments. So if I just highlighted this, that's a kick drum, right? That's a hi-hat. That's a kind of snare drum with a little hi-hat at the end of it. Two kick drums. This is the louder hi-hat right here. So what you can do is you can reorder these individual elements to create new drum beats. So let's try that. So I'm going to select that. That's a snare drum. I'm going to copy, and I'm going to try it here. Okay. I like this. I love that. It's louder. I'm going to pop that in a few spots so I can get a little bit more activity happening. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to delete that. And I'm going to put that here so it's a little bit before the beat. Whoops. I didn't copy it. So I'm going to copy that. Command C. I'm going to pop it here. I'm going to delete this. And then I'm going to copy that and pop that there. So let's see what we got now. Okay, so when you get to these drum beats, make your own drum beats up. It's a lot of fun. So let me take a look at the assignment again. So grad students edit all tracks in the session, and undergrads will edit 4 of the tracks in the section. Everybody should take that drum loop and make your own drum. All of you, right? No matter, pick that as one of your 4 undergrads. All right. So that's a nice hour and 10-minute tutorial on audio editing. We went into a lot of detail there, a lot of techniques. Hopefully they'll be helpful for you to do the assignment. Let me just turn off the AC because it's plenty cool in here now. Yeah. So we're going to move forward into a new topic right now. And I've got some props to help along with that. So this is a microphone, right? This is also a microphone. This is also a microphone. This is also a microphone. And this is a microphone. And this probably looks like the one that came with the recording kits for you guys, I think, possibly. So each one of these microphones records audio, but they're all different types of microphones. So we'll get into that. I'm going to pop up some materials for everyone. Oh, here we go. Okay, so file. Let's see. Hold on, give me 1 second here. All right, and great. Great, so in the chat there's a zip file you can download and open and follow along. So we're going to watch a couple of videos on YouTube.
A microphone's primary purpose is to convert acoustic energy, sound, into electrical energy, a signal that can be amplified, recorded, or transmitted. Because the microphone is the first link in the audio chain, it's important to choose the right microphone for the job. When choosing a microphone, you need to consider the desired sound source, whatever the mic is supposed to pick up, and the equipment that the microphone will connect to. The microphone needs to be able to handle the loudness and frequency range of the voice or instrument that you're miking. If it doesn't, your audio might have noticeable hiss, distortion, or voices and instruments might not sound natural. The microphone also needs to be compatible with both the physical connections and the electrical characteristics of the audio mixer, recorder, or computer that it will connect to. If it isn't, you might have problems with noise, low level, or no audio at all. To know how a microphone will work for a particular purpose, you need to check its technical specifications. These fall into 4 general categories. In this segment, we'll discuss the operating principle. The operating principle describes the type of transducer that the microphone uses to convert sound into an electrical signal. The most common transducer types are dynamic and condenser. In a dynamic microphone, sound waves strike a thin plastic diaphragm and cause it to vibrate. A coil of wire attached to the back of the diaphragm vibrates along with it. As the coil moves back and forth, it passes through a magnetic field created by a magnet, which generates an electrical signal that corresponds to the sound. Dynamic microphones can handle even the loudest sounds without overloading, but this also means that they're not well suited to distant miking of quiet sources. Because the sound waves have to move the mass of the diaphragm and the voice coil, they usually have limited high-frequency detail, so they're better for vocals or horns than for stringed instruments. The size of the magnet makes it difficult to make a dynamic mic very small, which can limit your mounting options. In a condenser microphone, sound waves also strike a diaphragm and cause it to vibrate. The diaphragm is mounted just in front of an electrically charged plate. As the diaphragm moves back and forth, it changes the electric field between the diaphragm and plate, which generates an electrical signal that corresponds to the sound. Since there is no voice coil in a condenser mic, the sound waves only have to move the diaphragm. This gives condenser mics better high-frequency detail than dynamics. This makes them ideal for miking stringed instruments, percussion, piano, or subtle vocals. Condenser mics usually have higher output than dynamics, so they're good for distant or quiet sources. Since there's no magnet in a condenser mic, they can be made extremely small, which makes it easier to mount them in tight spots and make the mic less visible. Condenser microphones have internal circuitry that requires power to operate. Usually, phantom power is supplied through the microphone cable from the mixer or recorder. Some condenser microphones can run on an internal battery, but that's less common. Unlike dynamic mics, the electronics in a condenser mic can overload when exposed to very loud sounds. Make sure that the condenser mic you're using can handle the sound levels that the source can be expected to produce. By understanding microphone characteristics like operating principle, you'll be able to choose the best mic for any application and get better results when recording or using a sound system. In Part 2 of this series, we'll explain microphone frequency response. To hear samples of how different microphones sound, visit the Shure Mic Listening Lab at shure.com.
Okay, so that's just an introduction. Now, a microphone is a transducer. A transducer is something that converts one kind of energy to another kind of energy. A microphone converts sound waves to electrical energy. Do you remember last week when I was showing you the signal flow and I had the electric guitar and I talked about how the guitar pickup changed sound waves into electrical energy? Well, a guitar pickup is a microphone, basically, right? It's a specialized microphone for guitar amplification. There are many kinds of microphones, but they all fall under two categories. They either need to have what's called phantom power, or they don't. They're either a dynamic microphone or a condenser microphone. So a dynamic microphone, and if you've done any performing live, you've probably sang or played your instrument and been mic'd by a dynamic microphone. This here is a dynamic microphone. This is the Shure Sm57. This is probably the most used microphone in the world, right? This is an inexpensive mic. It's about $100 now. It's been in constant manufacture for 40 or 50 years. Many albums and songs that you've heard have been recorded. Some instruments have been recorded with this. Great for snare drums. Many snare drums that you've heard in your life have been recorded with this. As they said in that video, the thing about a dynamic mic is that you have to be very close to it in order for it to pick up the sound. The microphone that I'm talking into right here is a condenser microphone. So I can be back a little bit far from it and you can still hear me. And as I get closer, you can hear me as well. If I was this far away from this microphone, the volume difference would be much greater. So this is also used great for guitar cabinets, for miking up electric guitar. This is great for live miking. And the reason being is that, first of all, they're solidly built. So if you drop it, the chances of it breaking are not as high as if you drop this very delicate condenser microphone. Like, I'd be upset if I dropped this because I might break it. And also because this is 10 times as expensive as this. If I drop this, I twist it tight and make sure that everything's working, and it probably would be functional. I wouldn't be happy. I don't want to drop it. But in a live situation, things happen. And the other thing that this is good for is that it suppresses feedback. You know, this high squealing sound that you hear sometimes from a PA in live situations. And that's because it's not very sensitive. It doesn't pick up things from far away. So if you're a lead singer and you're singing into this, and the drums are in back of you, it's picking up very little of the drums. And also, it's only picking up what's right in front of it. It's not picking up what's all around it. And I'll get into that, why that is shortly. So that's a dynamic microphone. You can just plug this with a cable like this directly into a PA, into your audio interfaces, and you would need a good preamplifier to make the signal loud enough to be heard, because it's not a sensitive microphone. But these are very handy. I've used, when I was playing piano at the Little Shop of Horrors in the 1980s, my first really professional gig after college. This mic, just like this, which I actually have the one that we used on the piano down in the basement. We mic'd the piano up with one of these. It worked great. No feedback. Piano was plenty loud. So these are very useful for live and for studio. You know, there are some records that get recorded where the singer is used to holding a mic in their hand and, like, you know, rocking and rolling. And there have been albums that very, very well done lead vocals where the lead singer's in the control room and they're playing the music loud through the speakers, and the singer is facing the speakers and getting the feeling of music real loud, and they're singing, holding on to the mic like they're on stage. And that's what they're used to doing. And there have been albums, you know, that have been vocals have been recorded like that. Not what I would prefer to do, but it's been done in the past. So, condenser mic. A dynamic mic, excuse me. Next up is a condenser mic. And these three microphones are all condenser microphones. What's the obvious difference between the two of these?
Size.
Correct. One is bigger than the other. Hence, this is a large diaphragm condenser mic, and this is a small diaphragm condenser mic. Because, that's going to be out of focus. Here, let's do it this way. Yeah, let's get some more light on the subject. It's always something, isn't it? All right. So that little thing right here, that's the diaphragm. See how small that is? The size of a dime. Maybe a nickel or a penny. Do you see that dark circle inside the gold grill? That's the diaphragm for this, and that's bigger than a silver dollar. Right? So it's what's considered to be a large diaphragm microphone. And each of those diaphragms has different characteristics, right? The small capsule diaphragm picks up transients very well. So it's excellent on percussive instruments like a strummed acoustic guitar, a piano, overheads for drums. It's also, if you go into Lafrac Hall, where we do all our concerts when we're in person at college, you'll notice if you look up hanging from the ceiling, there are a pair of small microphones like this in what's called an XY position, which I'll get into I will talk about stereo miking just so that you have the fundamentals, but you're not going to be able to do it. So they're good for, ambient miking. This is a great mic. Now, let me just tell you something. Microphones are expensive. I bought this microphone in 1999, and it was $500. If something were to happen to this now, it's $1,200 now. This is a Neumann Km184. This is a great mic. I never need to get a new updated version of anything with this. This sounds incredible on my acoustic guitars. I use this on my piano. I have 3 of these, and I can mic my piano in stereo with an extra mic for maybe under the frame in the back. But comes in a really nice case. It's always in the case, and the case is always shut, and I protect it, right? I don't want to spend $1,000 to buy another one of these. I'd be really upset if I broke this. So I always take care of my microphones. They're always in their box when they're not being used. This one, I don't put it in its box because I leave it set up to teach and do my live streamings. I don't care about this mic that much. I love this mic. I care about this mic. So I want to take care of it. But even with this, when I'm not using it, I take a Ziploc bag and I cover it up so that the diaphragm on this doesn't get affected by the change in temperature and moisture and the humidity in the air. All right, so this is also a condenser mic. This is an Audio Technica AT2035. I recommend this mic for students. This is about $130. It's a very clean microphone, not a lot of hissing noise, and it's very good. I have a pair of these that I use sometimes. I used to bring them into the college to help teaching stereo microphones because I have a pair of these, and they're really good. This is a large diaphragm. It's back something or other. I forget what never always forget how to pronounce it, but it's an electric condenser microphone, but it's got a larger diaphragm in it. This is also a large diaphragm microphone, but these 2 microphones are different, and I'll tell you why. And just another thing for your edification, where you see the name is right here. That's the front of the mic. There's some stuff back here. This is the back of the mic. One other difference I want to talk about, too, between microphones. This is the top of the mic. This is called a front address microphone because it's the front. This is a side address microphone because it's on the side, right? It's not on the top. So you point it this way, and you point this one like that, like a flashlight. Okay. I'm going to get back to these 2 mics, these 2 condenser mics in a minute. This is another kind of dynamic microphone. This is called a ribbon microphone. And there is a metallic ribbon inside of there that captures sound. And this is a dynamic microphone, meaning it doesn't take, and I will explain this in shortly, it doesn't take phantom power, right? You just can plug this right in. This is a very, you ever watch some late night TV host and he's got like this, he's got a microphone on a tiny little stand on his table and it's like this big rectangular box. A lot of late night guys have that because it looks really vibey and vintage. That's an RC. That's supposed to be like an RCA ribbon mic, which was really popular in the 40s and 50s to mic things. And ribbon mics are great. I love ribbon mics. They've got a very rich, mellow sound. If you've got a very bright instrument, you can tame it with a ribbon mic because it doesn't have a high frequency response. It's great on strings like violins and cellos. You can pair it with one of these and blend the 2 sounds together. It's great on pianos. It's great for drum overheads. But you got to be careful with these mics. If you ever get a ribbon mic and we don't have them. We don't use them in school for this reason. If you plug this in and the phantom power is turned on with your interface, you'll blow the ribbon up in about 10 seconds. So, oh, these are really great for guitar cabinets too. Yep, ribbon mics are great. Okay. Now, I think that the next bit, I have a video that I'm going to play that I did. Let me find it first. It's on my YouTube channel. I think that the next bit will be better. Give me 1 second. I just thought of this. This is something I did for the department over the summer. Go to playlists and nope. Give me 1 sec. Okay, so this is a brief review. Nope. Here we go. Great. So we're going to watch a 5-minute, a little 5-minute video that I did over the summer. Let's rock. Right here in front of me, I have a large capsule condenser microphone. This is an AKG 414. And one of the benefits of this particular microphone is that it has available to the user multiple polar patterns. It has cardioid, omnidirectional, and figure 8 or bipolar. Right now, I am in cardioid mode, and that means that it will pick up mostly the sound in front of it and reject the sound from the back of it. I'm going to walk around and I'll talk and we will hear the difference in sound as I go around the microphone. Check 1, 2. So I'm talking, I'm talking, I'm talking, and you can hear the timbre of my voice change. Talking, 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 and you could still probably hear me now, but it's very, very quiet. Talking, 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 talking. Actually, I can do a 360. Talking, 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 and now I'm in front where you can hear the full fidelity of my voice. Another interesting facet of this type of a mic is that you can actually change the timbre of someone's voice by the proximity to the capsule. This is how my voice sounds when I'm about a foot away. And listen to the timbre of my voice as I get closer. It gets a little louder, but it also gets quite a lot of bass frequencies. And right now I've got a radio voice, so I could be doing a radio DJ with this kind of a setup. That is a feature of cardioid mode on a condenser mic. This is called proximity effect. We're back now to a normal distance from the microphone. And I'm going to switch now to figure of 8 or bipolar, which means that it will pick up sound in front, pick up sound in back, and reject on the side. It's got a little switch. I just want to interject here. There's 2 capsules on that microphone, one that faces front and one that faces back, and that's how they get the bipolar. Here I am in the front, and I'm talking. And now I'm going to move to the left. Keep talking, keep talking, keep talking. Not so loud right here. Keep talking, keep talking, keep talking, keep talking. You can hear me again. Keep talking. It's a little bit different timbre from the back. It's a little darker. Keep talking, and let me get this cable. Keep talking, Sign is rejected on the side. Keep talking, and in the front. Now, bi-directional microphone for a mono recording is useful if, let's say you're 2 violinists and all you have is 1 microphone. One person stands here and the other person stands on the other side, and you listen to each other with your headphones on and you balance yourself. That's the use of figure 8. There's also a way to use it for creating stereo recording with mid-side, but that's way beyond the scope of this presentation. All right, let's do omnidirectional. And now you should hear a little bit different timbre here than even when I'm standing in front of the mic, because you're picking up the entire sound of the room now, not just my voice. So this is the most natural sounding polar pattern. Walk around the mic and see what it sounds like. Check 1, 2, check 1, 2, check 1, 2. You can hear me perfectly well. all the way around the microphone, there's no change in difference, no difference in sound. Makes no difference. Makes no difference. Watch what happens when I get closer to the microphone. 1, 2, 3, 4. It just gets louder. You don't hear that extra pronounced, overpronounced bass with this. So this does not have the proximity effect. Well, there's one other item that I want to talk about that you would need with any microphone you get. And that is some sort of windscreen. Now, this microphone comes with this little foam bit that you can put over the top. And it also comes with this windscreen. If you are going to purchase a microphone, almost every instrument creates wind, and you need to block that. So, in other words, if I'm up close like this, and I'm talking, do you hear all that explosions almost into the mic? Those are called plosives, and it comes from people who pop their P's, and you can stop a little bit of that by putting a windscreen. It's like wearing a mask, right? This doesn't let air through as much, just sound vibrations. If you're a woodwind player or a brass player, as well as a vocalist and a percussionist, I would recommend having a windscreen. All right, so that's polar patterns on a mic. And I'll talk to you in person about the benefits of the different patterns. On this video, okay, so that's fairly clear, right?
Yeah. I had a quick question. Because I've been a live performer for many years now, and I've always had trouble finding the perfect mic. I use a Shure 98S beta, real small supercardiac condenser mics, right? I play button accordion, and they don't come wired, so you have to like rig them to have a mic. So what we used to do was use the SM58 regular dynamic mic. What they would do is they'd break the shell off.
Right, so an SM58 is this microphone with a little ball on top, windscreen.
They used to just rip it apart and put the whole magnet coil and wire it inside of the accordion to be able to conceal it inside, and then drill a hole and put the XLR. So my tuner years ago told me that I should try using more like mics for instruments. So I bought 2 of those A98S betas. But one of the people that I recently worked with, the sound engineer, he always has trouble tuning me and getting feedback.
Right, well, that's because condenser mics are not ideal for live performance. They're too sensitive. They pick up too much sound. That's why dynamic mics are much better for live performance. So, in other words,
what do you do to find a small dynamic mic? Does that even exist?
yeah, they do actually. Yeah, the DPA is a company that makes them.
DPA.
They're expensive though. DPA's makes
I
great.
dropped like 300 a pop.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, DPA makes great mics. They use them all over, like on Broadway. They put them on violins and stuff like that. They have a whole system. You just dynamic mics are better for live performance than condenser mics. Condenser mics are way too sensitive. They pick up too much sound from other instruments, and the sound just keeps on repeating. If it goes through the speakers and then it goes back through the microphone, it goes through the speakers and back through the microphone. That's where you start getting your feedback. So the dynamic microphones are better for live performance.
Got it. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so I think so. You guys all wearing earbuds now? I think I'm going to play this next video about mic placement because this is a really good one. We can start to talk about this a little. And again, I'm going to go over this stuff again, but this is a good introduction. I'm going to discuss positioning a microphone and how it can affect the actual recorded sound of an instrument. I've got sitting here an acoustic guitar. It's pretty big. It's a jumbo-sized acoustic guitar. That's the size designation of this guitar. Looking at this guitar, you would think that all the sound comes out of the sound hole in the middle. A lot of volume comes out of there, but that's not necessarily the place that you want to mic the instrument. We're going to talk about positioning left to right or right to left and front to back. I'll get close and I'll get further away, and I'll talk about the reasons you might do these different things. Let's just start off with what will not be a good sound. I'm going to mic the instrument right over the sound hole, and I'm just going to strum a few chords. So for me, that is kind of unusable in anything that I would record because there's
Professor, you're
so
not
much
showing your screen.
low-end information. Oh, jeez, thank you. I'm a jerk. Let me do that once more time. Thank you. I'm watching the video and I'm just like, oh, it's going good. I've got sitting here an acoustic guitar. It's pretty big. It's a jumbo-sized acoustic guitar. That's the size designation of this guitar. Looking at this guitar, you would think that all the sound comes out of the sound hole in the middle. A lot of volume comes out of there, but that's not necessarily the place that you want to mic the instrument. We're going to talk about positioning left to right or right to left and front to back. I'll get close and I'll get further away, and I'll talk about the reasons you might do these different things. Let's just start off with what will not be a good sound. I'm going to mic the instrument right over the sound hole, and I'm just going to strum a few chords. So for me, that is kind of unusable in anything that I would record because there's so much low-end information in there. And the information from the low end is really boomy. It's not really a nice, clean sound. Now, if I back away from it and still mic the same position, it will get better. But it's still not really a well-defined sound. Let's see what happens if we go a little bit more in this direction. So let's say we're halfway between where the fingerboard meets the body and the sound hole, right? Better, less low end in that. For an acoustic guitar like this, you would most likely start with your reference point as the 12th fret and move it a little bit left and right to see what the sweet spot is. So there I am on the 12th fret, and let me just play a little something. And that's a very balanced sound. Balanced meaning that the low strings are not overpowering the higher pitched strings. I'll play that same figure and I'll get over into this area here. It's not good, right? I can't use that sound. If I'm playing with just somebody singing, I might not want to have a completely thin sound. I might want to have a sound where there's a nice amount of low end and you can still hear clarity between all the strings, in which case I would probably be somewhere over here. If this was going to be in a track with a piano, a drum kit, a bass guitar, things that have low-end information in them. If I recorded this, I would have to add corrective EQ. It's best to get the sound as good as you can when you're recording and not, oh, I'll fix it in the mix. No, record the sound well. It's always better. If I was going to play this in a band with those instruments, I would get into this area. And if I felt, because this is a large guitar and probably a better guitar to play in a larger ensemble would be an auditorium-sized guitar, which is much smaller, but I don't own one, there are other tricks you can do to change the timbre of the guitar. So one thing is I can angle the microphone down a little bit so that the sound hits the top of the microphone and not straight into the microphone. All right, so let's see what happens. And to me, that's a beautiful sound for an acoustic guitar. It would help if I could play it better, but that's another story. Let's talk close and far away. When I'm close to the microphone, I'm going to get closer than I normally would get. And I'm going to play a little more gently. Right, you can hear the pick hitting on instead of strumming cleanly, and you get such incredibly intimate detail. It's like someone is taking their ear and putting it right here. That is not natural, but we're creating, when we're recording, we're creating a soundstage and a world and telling a story, and sometimes having a recording technique where you're getting really intimate like that can let you play incredibly gently. And then you can hear the sound ringing out much better. There's a time and a place for that kind of a miking technique. Let's say that I was going to play something a little bit more aggressively. I would move away from the mic a little bit. Why? I don't want to overload the mic with all the sound coming out of this guitar. And also, I want to let the sound breathe a little bit in the room. And this is where having your room treated really helps, because you won't be exaggerating. I'm going to talk about room treatment next week, but let's just continue on with this. Of the reflective surfaces that are in your room when you're doing that. Now, here we go. That to me sounded okay. It could be played better, but the actual recording sound was really nice. It was clean, it was tight, it was articulate, and I could hear everything. I'll play the same thing closer, and what you'll hear is it gets incredibly sloppy, and things get exaggerated, dynamics get exaggerated. See, I moved away, and you could hear it so much. It's much nicer sounding. So these are things that you have to experiment around with. Also, mic technique is important. If you're a singer and a vocalist and you're singing and you're, about a half a foot to a foot away from the microphone and everything is sounding great, you come to an extremely loud area, you're going to back away from the microphone a little bit. Mic technique. And you can do that when you're playing as well. So, for example, if I'm playing like this, right? I can move back for the louder sections. And that's just really practicing and understanding these things. Now I've got a penny whistle, and I'm using the AKG414, the large condenser microphone. And notice I have it above the penny whistle, kind of parallel to the playing technique. If I was playing like this, I'd have to play around with it, but it might be somewhere up in this area. The other thing I want to mention is that I've got this above where I'm standing. It could actually probably use to be higher up, but what happens is that if you get too close to the ceiling, you'll get reflections off the ceiling back into the mic, which are unpleasant. So if you really want to have the mic a little bit further away from your instrument because you think it sounds better, but it's too close to the ceiling, what do? You increase the distance between the mic and the ceiling by sitting down. So if I was seated in my chair, I'd be much further away from the mic. Between the mic and the instrument by sitting down. I should really proofread my texts. All right. Practical solutions. Let's play around with this. A fairly nice round tone. Watch what happens when I take this part where you think the sound is coming out from and aim it at the microphone. It it's really thin. It's not a pleasant sound. So I'll start playing in this position and I'll move it down and you can hear the sound change as I move the instrument. Let's see if I can coordinate this. Interesting, right? I hope this demonstration has been helpful. Thank you for keeping me honest with the screen change there. It's the bane of my existence, the switcher. It's really helpful. It's great in a lot of ways, but it's just like another thing for me to think about. All right, so I think we're going to, that's a good introduction to microphones. I'm going to go over it again. Next week, I'm going to, in 2 weeks, I'll have a laptop set up over here and I'll go through the process of plugging an audio interface in and using the audio interface and selecting the audio interface in Pro Tools. Or maybe I'll find time to make a video for that, but we'll get on that. Anyway, I hope this has been helpful today. Have a nice break. Stay safe and stay healthy. And try to find some time to enjoy the warm weather. Any questions before we go? Yay, nay? No questions?
No, I think I'm good.
Yeah, get your assignments in by tomorrow, everyone, please. And then if you're behind, just use this time to catch up. All right, and pop everything in the late assignments folder. It's on our stream, on our Google Classroom. Google Classroom. Okie doke. I will catch you guys in a couple of weeks.
Live on mute, Professor?
Yes.
Can I just talk to you about my assignment after everybody, I guess?
Sure. Let me stop streaming on YouTube. So,
Thank you.
hey, thanks for watching, everybody, and please like, subscribe, and share. And